Where's Amy? There's Amy. The creative photography instructor here at Riverview High School and her students are to be, and you can tell who they are by looking at their shirts. They all have the shirts on. They're to be commended for their enthusiasm and their talent in bringing a unique segment of Florida history to the forefront. As we celebrate the accomplishments of current Riverview students, it is altogether fitting and proper that we also celebrate the accomplishments of a former Riverview student and our current inductee into the Riverview High School Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame, Vickie Oldham. I believe that it is important to note that Vickie graduated from Riverview in 1976. 76 was also the bicentennial celebration of the founding of our country. Obviously, 1976 was a year filled with reflections on the direction our country had taken over the previous 199 years. In one classroom, and I remember this classroom, in one classroom at Riverview in 1976, students listened to a teacher as he read the following words spoken by Robert Kennedy in a speech made to the young people of South Africa on the day of their affirmation. Robert Kennedy said, "Few will have the greatness to bend history itself, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events, and in the total of all those acts will be written the history of this generation." I believe that Vickie is proof that Robert Kennedy's words ring true. After receiving a bachelor's degree in telecommunications at the University of Florida, Vickie made a mark as a reporter and a TV host at ABC News 7. She hosted a popular show entitled Common Ground that featured interviews with opinion leaders, entertainers, and newsmakers nationwide. After completing a Master of Fine Arts degree at Florida State University's Conservatory of Motion Picture, Television, and Recording Arts, Vickie produced a series of documentaries about the history of Sarasota County, the African American community, and the Angola Project. The Looking for Angola Project connected community residents in Sarasota to scholars engaged in the search to find evidence related to an almost forgotten 1800 Black Seminole conclave that stretched from Tampa Bay to areas near the Manatee River and parts of Sarasota. Most recently, as a lead consultant with the Newtown Conservation Historic District, Vickie has helped change what Robert Kennedy called the small portion of events by preserving Newtown's stories. The exact experiences that fostered Vickie's passion for sharing her community's history was described in a February 2017 article in the Sarasota Herald Tribune. The article notes that after visiting St. Petersburg and Fort Pierce, Vickie realized that unlike the community where she grew up, both St. Pete and Fort Pierce had chosen to honor the history of their Black communities through legacy trails and monuments. Emboldened by this realization, Vickie was determined to help organize projects that would tell the storied history of the neighborhood where she was born and raised. Then after years of personal dedication, coupled with the support of influential community leaders, a portion of Vickie's vision became a reality. The first 15 historical markers showcasing the history of Newtown and Overtown were unveiled at a ceremony at the Robert L. Taylor Complex. And if you're sort of keeping track, in her spare time, she also co-authored a book, Newtown Live, Courage, Dignity, Determination. For those of us familiar with Vickie's desire to highlight her community, we understand that historical markers, a book, And even this Saturday's trolley tours of historical markers and churches are just the beginning phases of the many interwoven projects she has planned. At this time, it is my honor to present the Riverview High School Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame Award to a member of the class of 1976 whose personal life, professional achievements, and community service enhance the legacy of Riverview High School and inspire future generations of graduates. Vicki Oldham. Vicki, if you could. I'm going to ask Vicki to say a few words, and we also have a special presentation from the art department for Vicki that we'll have you do after Vicki makes her comments. And then we have students from the art department that will be taking groups of you up to the gallery. The gallery is not a large area, so we can take a few individuals at a time. And while some are at the gallery, some of you can be down here having refreshments, and we'll rotate that. All right, Vicki?
Thank you so much, Ron Carr. What a wonderful introduction. That sounded so good. Was that me? Oh, man. I am honored. I accept this award. I really do, and I'm surprised too. I'm very grateful to Riverview High School for this honor, and certainly my family. Some of them are here tonight. My Aunt Alberta, who is the matriarch of our family, and my Aunt Evelyn. Thank you so much for coming. My community members, some of which are here. Mr. Jesse Johnson, raise your hand. I interviewed Mr. Johnson for the Oral History Project to document Newtown's history. And then my classmates are here, some of you, Chris Whiteman and his wife, and Karen and Marjorie and Cynthia Gaines Myers and her mother, my community members. Oh, and there is Alicia and her son, Alicia, my new friend, whom I met at a talk at the Manatee Library. Thank you so much for coming. My parents were both artists. Charles Billy Oldham was a visual artist who painted landscapes and thoroughbreds. Those blue-green mountains in Kentucky, that's where he painted. And my mother, Wilbertine Thomas, she was a musician. I didn't get a chance to know her very much because she died young. But I think that seed for loving art was planted very, 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 very early in my life. And I'm so thankful for my grandmother who pushed the importance of getting an education, although she only had an 8th grade education. Because in her day, coming up here in Sarasota, African Americans could only go to the 8th grade. But she was an intellectual, for sure, because she pushed us to strive for a college education. And there was no option. We were going to college no matter what. And so I'm thankful to her. But I'm thankful to all those teachers at Booker Elementary School, and then from Booker I went to Gulfgate Elementary School. And Marjorie, did we go to Gulfgate together? Chris, did we go to Gulfgate together? Oh, you went to Southside. Well, I went to Gulfgate Elementary with Chris Whiteman here. He remembered that and brought it to my attention before we started. So I'm thankful to Roberta, the music teacher. She helped plant that love for art appreciation in my heart. Then I went on to Brookside Middle School, where I met Mr. Brookbank. I cannot remember his first name. Do you remember Mr. Brookbank?
Yeah.
John?
John Brookbank.
I I wish I could find him and say thank you, because I was in his history class and he did something. I don't know whether it was a book report that I had done or a test that I had passed or whatever, but he gave me a book of presidents in that history class. So he rewarded me for something good that I had done in history, and I can't say that it started my love for history, because it started earlier than that, but I think it pushed me along, I can say. It definitely pushed me along. And so you'll see how I'm weaving the thread here. I need to mention the community and the church and how important a role the church played in my being informed in my adult life. But 3 key elements: education, that means the schools and my teachers, my family, and the community. They work together. They all work together to groom me into that young woman that I am today. Now, I'm in no way a complete package right now, but I figure I'm a work in progress. I love storytelling, I love art, and I love history, and I'm planning to use all 3 of these passions of mine to change my world in Sarasota and wherever I go. Those 3: storytelling, art, history. I'm focused on using my art, that is the art of filmmaking and writing, to tell the story about my community. So yes, Ron mentioned some ways that I had used those 3 to tell stories about Newtown, and there's so many more. But the book, I am so thankful and pleased and proud to say, here's the first book that bears my name. There'll be more. 4 boxes of them just arrived, and they're in my garage waiting to be sold. I'm happy about that. The website, there's a website, newtownalive.org, that also bears the stories, historic markers, social media, the trolley tours, brochures. There'll be podcasts. There's a documentary, or a series of documentaries already, but there'll be more. And then I'll use visual art in some way, but I'm trying to use all the mediums that are available in any format, in every format, to tell these stories. So I thank you for this award, and it just encourages me to continue this work of sharing the stories about Newtown's people and our traditions and our places. So enjoy the evening with me. That's it.
In addition to the plaque that Vicki received, we've also purchased a brick in her name. The brick will have Hall of Fame. It'll have the year, 1976, the year she graduated, her name, and that will go in the Legacy Walk, which is here at Riverview at the entrance of Riverview High School. So at this time, Amy. Yeah, you have something here.
Oh, yes. We are so honored that Vicki would come here and share this night with us. For my students whose exhibit you're going to see shortly, this was our first shot at doing something like this, at trying to build something, and it proved to be quite a learning experience for all of us. The story was much bigger than we could have imagined. We started at thinking we had this little thing, and then we got this tiger by the tail that just kept growing, and like an onion that you're peeling off the layers, there's more people and more events and more things to know. And so I decided yesterday, because I really enjoyed doing this. Not every moment of it, my students will tell you there was not every moment I enjoyed, but I really enjoyed being a part of this program with my students and sharing this time. They came out as volunteers. This was not something they had to do. This was a project they expressed an interest. They actually had to fill out an application to be part of it. I accepted everybody. It wasn't, nobody, if you had good grades, bad grades, it didn't matter. I just wanted to see that you would fill out an application and say you were committed to participating in the process. And so they got on board this, and so I really enjoyed it. And I said, I really want to do this again but I don't want to start over from scratch, so we decided yesterday that this is the first year of this project, but we are going to continue with our highwaymen on an annual basis because the story is so big and so interesting, and so this is year one. We hope you enjoy the exhibit when you go upstairs. As Ron said, we have the elevator keys and we'll be taking people little by little up so that you can go through it. But realize for us this is also a work in progress. Omissions, mistakes, spelling errors, any of those things. This is a very long process, which is what we learned. It's not something you take 6 weeks and create. You know, my ideas in my head were like, I really love the Titanic exhibit. It covered multiple floors, and there was icebergs, and there was, so we're biting off a small chunk of this. So I hope you do enjoy what we have completed, and I hope that some of you might even decide to come back again in another year and see where we go with it. But in the meantime, these shirts were part of our program, and we wanted to make sure that Vicki got one as part of her night because it's got the date on it of the opening of it. So, and that's also in commemoration of your special night. We're honored that you're here with us. Thank you.